Chag Sameach, everybody. As you can see, I've got the cheese products ready. Already, it's a petite cheese as we call it in Hebrew, and Gvinat Lavana, the white cream cheese. Already getting in the mood for Shavuot. Many people have milk for many different reasons, but I thought I would give an informative class within regards to the different customs of Shavuot and the night of Shavuot itself. Just a very brief overview within regards to the festival of Shavuot and the holiday. I'm taking part of this from the Halacha Yomit website also, which is very informative. I would recommend everyone to read about it. And within regards to different customs on the festival of Shavuot itself, respectively. First, we're going to concentrate why do we adorn the different synagogues and one's houses with plants. Is that okay to do or not? It's more of a halacha shit over here. So adorning, within regards to the topic, we're going to see that of people decorating synagogues and their houses with plants, respectively. There was a great commentator of the name halachic commentator named the Rav Moshe Israelis, that wrote that it's customary to scatter plants throughout the synagogue and one's home on the holiday of Shavuot. Why? In commemoration of the joy of the giving of the Torah. Many of the great Achronim actually bring other sources for this custom, based on the Gemara and the Talmud, respectively, in Masechet Shabbat in page 88 over there, Peichet, naturally, which we say, and it states that after every commandment that was uttered by Hashem, the entire world was filled with a fragrant smell. There was a famous pasuk that says, "His lips are like roses dripping with passing myrrh." It's likewise customary, naturally, to lay branch trees in the synagogue over there and in one's homes in order to hint to the Gemara. There's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, I believe, in Tet Zayin Aleph, that says that on Shavuot we are judged regarding the fruits of the tree. That's one of the things over there. There's another great rabbi named the Chaye Adam. He writes that Rabbeinu Eliyahu of Vilna, this was a great Torah area also, he didn't continue this custom. For nowadays, non-Jewish people place tree branches in their homes during their holiday season. Thus, therefore, he felt that constituted a prohibition of following practice of non-Jews. We know that there's one of those prohibitions over there. But then again, Harav Ovadia Yosef, Cham Ovadia Yosef, Zechet Tzedek Livracha, he writes that the Gaon Vilna, really great rabbi, writes that this constitutes a prohibition to follow the practice of non-Jews in accordance with his own opinion that this prohibition applies to all non-Jewish practices. However, according to another rabbi, a rabbi of the name Rabbi Yosef Kolon, and many other great rabbis who rule likewise, this prohibition applies only to those observed practices which have no reason behind them. For only, let's say that we're only concerned about, we're worried just about following the Amorites and everything else. Like maybe God forbid there was idolatrous rituals that was beyond over this. However, this specific custom over here is observed for a specific reason over here. Such as if a garment is worn, let's say, by non-Jewish doctors, in order for them to be recognizable as doctors, then of course a Jewish doctor should be wearing this garment. Also, it's not to stick out whatsoever. That's a code of practice over here. So there was definitely a big reason why we have this minhag of decorating the houses. Why do we eat dairy food now? The milky, cheesy products on Shavuot itself. So the Rama, the great commentator, will actually continue and write that several communities have the custom to eat dairy foods on the day of Shavuot. There was Achronim that add that it's customary to eat milk and honey together as well. So that's another tip to do for Shavuot, to have milk and honey. Why is this? Hinting to the acceptance of the holy, precious Torah, which is compared to milk and honey, we see. Some of the great commentators actually explain that the reason for eating dairy foods on Shavuot is because when the great rabbis, our forefathers, were given the 10 commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot, respectively, the rest of the Torah and its commandments were revealed to them as well. There was a great rabbi named Rav Sadia Gaon, wrote that all of the mitzvot are included in the Aseret HaDibrot. So these 10 Aseret HaDibrot, it branches out into Tariq 613 mitzvot naturally. When the Jewish people returned to their homes after receiving the Torah, they did not find anything ready to eat besides for dairy items at that point in time. So for eating meat now involved much preparation, including shechting, slaughtering the animal with obviously a knife free of imperfections, removing the forbidden fats and sinews. It's a whole process when you're kashering. You have to kasher the meat also with salting and washing it as well. So they therefore made do with dairy foods So naturally, we eat dairy items in commemoration of this specific thing happening. Also, the halacha prohibits eating dairy foods for 6 hours after eating meat. We know that naturally other communities might have different customs. We therefore customarily eat the dairy foods first, and only after washing one's mouth, obviously with the correct halachic approach, like naturally by eating bread or some other beverages, then we can eat meat. One should eat meat naturally. On Yom Tov, there's a mitzvah of eating basar and drinking wine also. So we should eat meat on Yom Tov, on the Chag itself, in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Yom Tov, of the Chag. Naturally, the Gemara in Chagiga, in Daf Chet, actually says in Amud Bet, that one experiences only true joy if they eat meat. And also, one should drink wine in the honor of Yom Tov also, because that gladdens the heart also. That's something also very much we should say. One should rejoice by performing permissible actions, such as obviously we sing Zemirot on the table also, and praise of Hashem on Torah. One must likewise try to learn Torah during the day of Shavuot naturally as well. The great Rabbi Maran writes that one should also learn from the Rambam Sefer HaMitzvot also, and it's proper naturally to recite the book of Psalms, Tehillim also on this day, since Shavuot actually marks the passing of King David HaMelech. Also, the great Rabbi would say that it is not so beneficial to remain, or he doesn't necessarily hold that one should necessarily learn the whole entire night of Shavuot, studying Torah, and then to sleep the entire day thereafter. One should only sleep, let's say, for an hour or two in order to regain one's strength, and then awaken and Torah study again. So he maybe is not against a power nap because of the worry that maybe we're not going to be able to learn as much and might lose concentration in davening over there. But obviously if someone is very great and knows he can do it and hold out and have full kavanah, then obviously he would hold that one should learn the whole time. This is Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, I believe, who says over there. And obviously one should dedicate most of his time to learning or try and do his best to learn Torah also, but should be aware also that maybe that sleep will help with in regards to kavanah, a power nap also. It's also, I believe he delivered a sermon prior to one of the festivals, one of the holidays of Shavuot. The night of Shavuot, he says over here, is an especially unique night and is more exalted than any other holiday, Eve. So many Jews sit and delve in Torah all over of the world. But what's the basis for this custom? So when Hashem asked Moshe Rabbeinu to redeem the Jewish nation from Egypt, from Mitzrayim, he told them, when you take the nation out of Egypt, you shall serve Hashem on this mountain. The word serve over here in Hebrew, ta'avdon, is spelled with extra nun to hint that only after 50 days, after having left Egypt, would the Jewish nation merit getting the Torah respectively also over there. So it's actually interesting. So it's a very, very auspicious time. We can say much more about it also. But there is a special tikkun to read on the night of Shavuot, which the Arizal drafted for this night. Fortunate, he says over, is one who reads this entire tikkun. It's a long tikkun, but definitely, if one can, one should read it. However, it's not necessarily compulsory, and one can only study where, let's say, a person's heart desires of it. So not necessarily to tikkun, but obviously it's ideal. Therefore, if one wishes to study the Gemara or Poskim, one may do so. The most important thing is try not to sleep and to delve into Torah as much until the daytime possible, at which point we read the Aseret Debrot and receive the Torah anew. Also, it's customary, as we stated before, to read Tehillim on Shavuot because it marks the passing of King David on this specific day. Also, it's a Hilul of this day. And also, when he passed, I think the Jewish nation was so distraught that they did not joyfully celebrate the Shavuot holiday. Instead, they pushed it off until the next day. Thus, the day after Shavuot is called Isru Chag, and that's also a special day, Isru Chag, just like Isru Chag of Pesach is. It's more special than any other Isru Chag of any other holiday outside of Israel. But outside of Israel, it's the second day of Yom Tov. Naturally, we know that there's 2 days of Shavuot also. Gladdening the needy, there's a concept of helping the poor people that are near us also. So the Torah in Devarim in chapter 16, I think, says, and you shall be glad during your holiday, you, your son, your daughter, the Levi, the convert, the orphan, and the widow in your midst. That's what the Pasuk actually says. So one must therefore gladden the hearts of the poor, the widows, orphans during this Chag itself of Shavuot, as well as, and this is very important obligation also. So one may fulfill one's obligation naturally by donating to tzedakah before the holiday, so that the needy will have necessary funds that they can enjoy the holiday of Shavuot also. So I just want to add on something else, an interesting bread that is made, because we like to talk about some traditions also. So nicknamed the Queen of Israel, I think there was a special bread that was made in Salonika, which was one of the greatest Jewish cities that you could say, many people could say, ever existed. It was a melting pot at the time of Jewish communities, where many Jews, following the 1492 expulsion, Spanish Inquisition from Spain and Portugal, moved actually over there. It was a cosmopolitan Jewish community. That once it was prosperous, a very, very prosperous place for Spanish and Portuguese Jews to maintain the various Sephardic traditions also. One of these customs was the baking of a rich dairy yeast breads each Shavuot, the most well-known of which is called the El Pan de Siete Cielos, or the bread of the seven heavens over here. This is what's reported. I'm just reading from an article over here. For 780 years, the El Pan de Siete Cielos was a significant dish of the Shavuot holiday, and the Jews of Salonika continued to bake this bread all the way until the Second World War, when the community was unfortunately nearly totally exterminated by the wicked Nazis. Today, there's less people, a handful, let's say, of the survivors can recall eating the bread at their holiday tables, and the tradition in a way has perished. It was reported over, but it's important we're talking about this now because we want to know about real Jewish history. The festive breads dates back, the origin to it, I think as early as 8th century period, known as La Convivencia, or let's say coexistence, at a time when Spanish Jewry, it was a golden age for them, but at the time they were coexisting with the Jewish people. Naturally, there was Jews, Christians and Muslims. They lived peacefully together, making the Iberian Peninsula a hub innovation. There was a cultural exchange at that point in time. So it's actually very interesting that there was this specific bread that was made there. But there are some... there's a recipe over here that is written over here. I will tell everyone to check online also within regards to this recipe. I think there was a name of someone named Nicholas Starvarakis recorded this specific recipe itself. And I think it's of a Turkish Jewish origin also, this specific bread is. So I recommend everyone to actually learn about this recipe itself. I'm not going to talk about it so much, but the central element of the bread is a ball of dough depicting Mount Sinai, which is where Hashem naturally gave Moshe and Am Yisrael the precious Torah also. It's actually say the Mount Sinai is ringed by 7 ropes of dough, which denote the clouds surrounding the mountain over here. The symbolism of the 7 clouds is not necessarily clear according to this article itself, and Robert, this was definitely a very popular bread in Salonika, a famous challah over there also, which is very, very interesting. And naturally, it's going to be the festival of Shavuot. So I would recommend to everybody that, yes, I think just to go back to it, I think there was different ladders as part of this thing, which I think is hinting to within regards to how Yaakov, we learn in Sefer Bereshit, he dreamt about the ladder going up, connecting heaven and earth also, which very much symbolizes Mount Sinai also, this specific bread itself also. So that's very, very interesting. That's just, I think, a side tidbit I want to give within regards to this festival of Shavuot. Many congregations also, we know on Shavuot we read the book of Ruth, Megillat Ruth also, which is also important to learn. So it's a time period where we are familiar with the story, probably we read it. Also, another reason is because of the passing of David the HaMelech. Also, Shavuot naturally is also called the Festival of Weeks, Festival of Reaping in English, Yom HaKatzir, also Yom HaPikurim, because that's where we bring the first fruits also to the Beit HaMikdash also at that point in time. It's marking the giving of Torah at Mount Sinai also, and much more can be said. We talk about the Shtei Lechem also. The Torah prescribes a unique sacrifice for Shavuot, called the Shtei Lechem, also 2 loaves, also, which is important to talk about. Also, there's different readings of Piyutim, including the Akdamut, which is read during Shavuot morning by some of the synagogue services. Naturally, this is also root. We know that we decorate the houses with Yirakim, also with the flowers, and also there's all-night Torah study also, which is very, very interesting also. And so it's an auspicious time. Let's try and make the most of it over here on the 6th of Sivan it's going to be. And Bez Hashem, Chag Sameach to everyone. I've got the cheese ready over here, as you can see. But don't forget to have the meat and wine also. Ideally, maybe do a brunch or a kiddush with the cheesy products, but to have the dinner and lunch, the Sudot itself, with meat and wine, that's ideal. Guys, I'd like to dedicate this Lilu Nishmat to Avihu ben Esther, who sadly passed away about a week and a half ago at a very young age. And may this be Lilu Nishmat. Wishing you all a great day and a Chag Sameach.